Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Iceberg on this Tuesday night in April. I'm your host, Casey Stamp, along with my partner, Craig Smith. Craig, always a pleasure to talk to you. How are you doing this week?
Feeling great. Great to be with you guys on the Iceberg again.
And great to be here with all of you tonight. Well, folks, playoffs are almost here, which makes for a great show this evening. We're going to start off, as always, with our game analysis on tonight's game with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils. We're going to have the latest on Sidney Crosby and his progression. We're going to talk about the upcoming Pens-Islanders game and how closely it will be monitored. We're going to do our year in review, talk about some of the best moments of the season, and some of the adversity the Penguins have dealt with over the course of the year, and, of course, what we can expect to see in the playoffs. Then we're going to finish off, as always, with game prediction and fan email. Stay tuned. We've got a great program for you in this, our last show of the regular season. Welcome back, folks. Tonight, the Penguins played host to Jacques Lemaire and the New Jersey Devils, and congratulations tonight to Chris Kunitz, who is now a father, in their final home game of the season. And the Penguins looked great early, killing off a penalty to Max Talbot, and then getting two straight power play chances, and finally at 17:37 of the first, Jordan Staal would get that much-needed power play goal, putting the Penguins up 1-0. And how good has Jordan Staal been in the absence of Crosby and Malkin, getting tons of ice time, as much as 29 minutes in one game and 27 in another. Partner, how has Jordan Staal been able to produce so effectively without their biggest stars?
Well, you got to look at the speed and the overall size of Jordan Staal. When he scored that goal tonight to give our power play that much-needed jolt, he was right on top of the play, just rushing out on the ice, got the puck, fired to the net, and he got a goal. So it's great hustle, great speed.
Absolutely. Now to that Jordan Staal goal, a few more really great chances, but the first period would end with the Penguins up 1-0 over the Devils, and so the Penguins out shooting the Devils and outplaying the Devils, and the shot count after the first was 8-5, Penguins advantage. Second period, Pittsburgh would start with the power play off that penalty at 19 minutes of the first to Jakob Josefsson, and no goals on the remaining minute of the power play. And in fact, somewhat a slow start to the second period, shapes of the previous meeting between these two clubs, and surprising after the extremely fast-paced first 20 that we saw there. A couple of shots by the Devils and a couple of good saves by Marc-Andre Fleury in the beginning of the second, and then the ice began to tilt in the favor for the Devils around the midway point of the second. A few shots on goal, and finally at 15:08 of the second, a turnover by Ben Lovejoy would lead to a goal scored by David Steckel. Of course, boo was raining down from the stands. Steckel was the one that hit Crosby earlier this year. But then just after that will be Pascal Dupuis scoring and putting the Penguins up 2-1. And the second would end just a few seconds later with the Pittsburgh 2-1 advantage. Start of the third was pretty good for the Penguins, as the new daddy, Chris Kunitz, would score just a few seconds into the third period, putting up the Penguins 3-1. But no time to throw a parade just yet, as Brian Ralston would score just a few minutes later, cutting the Devils' deficit to 1. So a close game in the third, and at 18:19 of the final period, Jordan Staal would be penalized for tripping, but Pascal Dupuis would score a shorthander, his second goal of the game, to make the game 4-2, and that would be the final score. So the Penguins' 47th victory of the season, and our player of the game is Pascal Dupuis. And partner, Pascal has really been able to turn it on offensively as of late. What's changed for Duper?
I think he's gotten the support of the guys around him, and Bilesma has made a couple significant line changes with who he's pairing Dupuis with, and it's made a big difference.
Absolutely, and Bilesma loves to shake it up with those lines, different combinations all the time. Well, a great game for Dupuis and a great game for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they win over the New Jersey Devils, with the final score being 4-2. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll have the latest on Penguins captain Sidney Crosby. Stick around. Welcome back. Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby has progressed now to morning skates, and he's been traveling with the team, of course. Still no timetable for his return, but he keeps moving through the steps toward a return, whether that be in the playoffs or in training camp in the fall. So he seems to be responding well to these morning skates. Partner, how long do you think it's going to be before Sidney Crosby gets into any kind of team practice?
I think you'll see him in the gap between the regular season and the playoffs. During that window, that short time frame, I think you're going to see him probably active by then. I can't guarantee anything, of course. I mean, there's still no timetable, as they've said, but I predict he'll be back either by the first or second round of the playoffs still.
Absolutely, and he's going to need a few days at each step, and it seems like so many things change, even on just a day-to-day basis. Do you expect him to be ready for the start of the playoffs, or do you think that's just too much to expect at this point?
I think it's still very much up in the air. I think that he could, but if not, I think the Pens are a strong enough team that they will get to the second round, and that would give us Matt Cook back and potentially Sidney Crosby by the second round, if not by the first round.
Absolutely. Well, the first round of the Penguins, pretty much a foregone conclusion, will play the Tampa Bay Lightning right now, these two jockeying for home ice advantage. Who do you expect to make the biggest impact in this series, whether it be for the Lightning or for the Penguins?
What you're going to see in this series is speed on both ends, especially from the Lightning, who rely heavily on Steven Stamkos and Martin St. Louis. And you're going to see our guys like Chris Connor and Jordan Staal and Chris Kunitz. Very fast, high-paced games, much like the preview that we saw the other night with the Lightning taking on the Pens. Absolutely,
and we all look forward to that series and look forward to, hopefully, what is a long and prosperous playoff run for the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, folks, we're going to take a short intermission. When we return, we're going to talk about Friday's game and that heated rematch with the New York Islanders, how it's going to be monitored. Stick around. We've got more rolling your way on the Iceberg. Welcome back, folks. Penguins, Islanders, a rivalry that has escalated with the events of this year, starting with that one-punch knockout that Brent Johnson delivered to Rick DiPietro, and then just a circus in the meeting after that, suspensions handed out left and right for what was basically a brawl. They will meet again this Friday. Partner, how closely will this game be monitored, not only by the officials, but by the league and by the commissioner?
I think you're really going to see a heavy monitoring on this game, especially when you've got guys like Trevor Gillies on the Islanders who have more games suspended than they have minutes played on the ice. If you look, he's got, I want to say, 18 games suspended this season. That's 9 games for every minute of ice time that he's had for the Islanders. So you're going to see a very physical game, but I'm hoping we don't see a circus like the last game that we saw.
Absolutely, and with all the controversy this year about head hits and concussions, do you expect there to be any controversial hits in this game?
I'm already preparing for it. I think it's going to be a very physical game, especially if some of our guys that are cited to play are back and some of their guys are back in the game. They have guys like Michael Haley. I mean, I couldn't condone the actions of Matt Martin or Trevor Gillies in that game, but Michael Haley, very physical presence, you got to give him credit for at least trying to fight fairly, even in that kind of situation. So, very physical game.
And play-wise, what do you expect to see? The Penguins got blown out last time. Do you expect to see a different score this time around?
I expect to see a very different score this time around. I mean, the Islanders, they've been playing the role of spoiler lately to a lot of teams, winning games that no one predicted that they would win because they're already trailing. They have no hopes of making it to the playoffs anytime in the near future. So I think this one's going to be a lot closer, though. I think Tavares hasn't done much for the Islanders. He's maybe picked up a couple goals this season. Their team has been stagnant for the most part, with the exception of a couple games where they've played the spoiler role.
Well, certainly a long-awaited rematch. That'll be the conclusion to a very heated season series. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we return, the year in review, the best and the worst of everything in the NHL and everything in between. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, folks, it's been a wild ride this year, but not just for the Penguins, but for the NHL in general. Of course, the controversies with headshots this year, the 24/7 series with the Penguins and the Capitals, the absence of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin from the Penguins, and, of course, the All-Star game when the teams were selected by fantasy draft. Partner, was there a particular moment or maybe a particular game that might have been your favorite from this season?
I've seen a lot of